So hi, first off, I'm Sandy. I'm the program manager here at Swan. So thank you so much for joining us for the season 2 premiere of the RiSWP Mentorship Series for young professionals. This event is being hosted by the Swan Forum, or the Smart Water Networks Forum, a global nonprofit, which is the leading hub for smart water in the wastewater sectors and stormwater as well, and the Rising Smart Water Professionals, or RiSWP, Swan's young professional community, for those interested in joining or advancing the smart water sector. So a little bit more about Swan and what we do. So this is our Swan member ecosystem. We developed this member ecosystem to present a snapshot of Swan's global members, which represent the full spectrum of leading stakeholders in the smart water sector, from idea all the way through to pipe. Now you can check out, we have a fully interactive member ecosystem on our website, and we'll share that link with you guys in the chat so you can check that out. And just a couple of exciting things going on at Swan. We have our annual conference, our 12th annual conference, coming up May 24th to 26th in Washington, D.C. The theme this year is going to be Connecting Innovation to Impact. And just so all of you guys know, we do have a special young professionals tier of highly discounted tickets for both online as well as in-person attendance to the conference. So if you have any questions about the conference, feel free to message me. I'll drop my email address in the chat as well. And one more exciting announcement about the conference. We're raffling off a ticket actually to the conference. So we have this great survey. We love to get feedback from all of you and hear more about what you'd like to learn about and what you want to get from Swan. So if you could take a minute to just fill out this survey. Anyone who has already filled it out or fills it out from now will be entered to win tickets to the conference, and we'll announce the winner on the next episode of the mentorship series. And now I'm going to hand it over to our host and moderator for the evening or morning, depending where you are in the world, Billy Raseman.
Thanks, Sandy. I'm really happy to be hosting the mentorship series this year. Rudy hosted last year and was sort of the pioneer making everything happen. So I'm kind of following in her footsteps. But yeah, I am part of the 2022 RiSWP leadership team. That's me, Rudy, Moyo, Jessica, and Aaliyah. We're in from all around the world, trying to get rising smart water professionals together. And this mentorship program is a big part of that. So really, what is the mentorship program? On the next slide, kind of lay it out. So we're going to be having these webinars bi-monthly. So every 2 months, it'll be an interactive virtual interview with some of the world's leading smart water sector professionals. So we have kind of a core set of guiding questions, which are focused on mentorship and how people find mentors and how they can be led sort of into the smart water sector, how people got there. And we really want it to be interactive. And so there's going to be audience Q&A. Please feel free to drop questions into the Q&A sort of at the bottom of your screen throughout. We will be answering those, kind of in real time. We'll be collecting them throughout the interview. So please feel free to drop those in. We can answer them when we can, and anything we don't get to, we'll try to get to at the end. And what's even better is if you really enjoyed this webinar, we publish every recording on the RiSWP webpage. And so it can be this library for future reference. So please feel free to share that. So moving on to the next slide. So Swan, is our sort of member organization, and RiSWP is really focused on rising smart water professionals, young professionals. So please get connected with Swan and with RiSWP. You can join the RiSWP LinkedIn group. You can also join, the groups on Twitter and follow Swan and the different alliances throughout the globe. So that brings us to the main event. So today is the season premiere of the mentorship series for season 2. And, last year we went through a lot of very experienced smart water professionals, and we listened to your feedback, and a lot of people wanted to hear more from younger people, from people that are just getting going in the smart water sector. And so what we've done is we've put together a panelist of our some of our RiSWP ambassadors. We're going to get to, we've got an amazing group, sort of a cross section of the industry, and we're going to, get right to this interview of Jade, Kim, and Pedro. So to introduce each of them, Kim is a water technology market analyst at BlueTech Research. And so there she actively analyzes water innovation in the sector and looks at trends impacting market development. So she holds both an undergraduate degree and a doctorate in engineering science from the University of Oxford, where her research was focused on membrane technologies. After her PhD, she worked as a doctoral and then as an R&D engineer in developing water-related technologies. So amazing experience there. Moving on to Jade Pereira. She is a water resources engineer at M3 Engineering in St. Louis, Missouri, where she focuses on modeling of collection systems. Jade received her Bachelor of Technology in Civil Engineering from National Institute of Technology in India and a Master's in Civil Engineering from the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign in the United States. Jade enjoys learning about new perspectives in water and hopes to encourage the exchange of ideas in the smart water field. Last but not least, Pedro Travanca is a digital water enthusiast who works as a water engineer at Baseform in Portugal. In his role, he acts as a bridge between software and customers and supports utilities on their endeavor to deliver efficiently. Before that, he was a project engineer for 7 years, working on the design, construction, and operation of wastewater treatment plants. And Pedro also holds a master's degree in environmental engineering from the Faculty of Engineering of the University of Porto and a higher diploma in science in data analytics from the National College of Ireland. So as you can see, they all have amazing resumes, really bring a lot to our sector, and just want to thank each and every one of them for being here. So to kick it off, I thought we'd just start, with kind of some examples, talk to each of you about what your current job experience is, sort of what you do day to day, so people can start to get an idea of, what is it like to be, to walk in the shoes of your life for a day. So let's start with Jade. So you work for an engineering consulting firm and do simulation and optimization of collection systems. So first, can you define what a collection system is so everyone's on the same page? And then tell us, what drew you to modeling these systems?
Okay, so collection systems, they're just all the pipes that basically collect, storm water or sewer water, and then collect it, and sewer water, they send it to a treatment plant, or storm water, they send it to streams and rivers. So that's what a collection system is. And there's a whole world that's treatment plant design. There's also another world that's how do you collect the water and take it to the treatment plant. So that's what collection systems are. How did I get into modeling? I think it was just a matter of being at the right place at the right time. So in undergrad and in grad school, I always gravitated towards hydrology, hydraulics type subjects. And then I think I took a couple of courses on, environmental systems planning and river basin management. And I just loved those. And so once I started speaking to other people, other mentors, they sort of picked up on the fact that I was into that stuff. And then they were able to guide me like, hey, have you looked at modeling? Like, seems like that might interest you. And that's pretty much how I got to where I am. Short story.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it. And so to go over to Pedro for a second. So Pedro, I know you started, with kind of a traditional civil engineering background, but you've since pivoted it into a water technology company. So how has the transition been to working more so on the design and construction to really focused on something related to software?
Hi everyone. Thanks. First of all, thanks to the leadership team and to the organizers of this webinar for inviting me to be one of the panelists here along with Jade and Kim. It's really a pleasure to be here on the spotlight. Well, going directly to your question, it was a long process. I have to admit it was long. So I was, as you said, I was working on design and build of infrastructure. It's actually a very rewarding job because at the end of each project that we finish, we start giving water for people to drink. And although it's not seen by the public as a very valuable action, it actually encompasses a lot of things behind. So it's very rewarding to do something big for people to see it so small. Anyway, although it was very rewarding, it was also tough because it was very hard to reach a very good work-life balance. And my personal perspective, it was not a long-term job. For this reason, because of work-life balance, and also because I think at the moment there's a lot more supply than what the demand is. So in long term, it wouldn't be a sustainable job for me. So I decided to start working on a career change. And despite it happened in 2021, I actually started doing something on 2018. And by something, I mean, I started reading, I started gathering information, just to decide what would be the best option for me. So the first thing I did was to enroll in a second university course on data analytics, because I felt it would open doors for me in the smart water sector. As I was saying, it was tough, but I have to recognize that the environment where I was very positive and very helpful to do that. I was lucky to work with a company that helped me on my skills development. So I worked with Glenagua before, and although we were a design and construction company, there was an innovation department. I got involved in the innovation focus group that was focused on smart water, and they always supported me on my mission outside work to finish my university degree. And so although all the obstacles that I found on the way, I think I have to admit that the circumstances of how I did it were very helpful. And then the opportunity arrived. So my first idea was to develop something within a company, but then there was an opportunity that I couldn't refuse because I was working abroad, I was living abroad, and then I got the job offer at my home country. So that's where I am now. So as you said, I work with Baseform. Baseform is a software company that helps utilities, water utilities, to manage non-revenue water and optimize their asset renewal plans. So I work as, I like to say that I'm the last user of the software in the company, and I'm the first user of the software in the utility, although I'm not on the utility. That's how I see my job. I regularly hold meetings with clients on a weekly basis. I also work in tandem with product developers and data scientists to optimize the service that we give to utilities and to improve the product, because this is a very fast-paced evolving market. So we have to always be on the edge.
That's amazing. Thank you, Pedro. And that was a perfect transition over to Kim, because, you know, keeping track of the market, where things are moving, doing that market research, you know, is something, Kim, that I know you do every day. So, you know, you started in doing your doctoral work in membrane research, and you've pivoted to this market research. What has that been like? And, you know, what do you like? What do you not like?
Thanks, Billy. So yes, I did my PhD and had some postdoc and industrial R&D experience. And at those roles, I was given like usually a very long, big projects that takes months or even years, like the PhD takes 3.5, 4 years to complete. And well, now it's quite different because at my current role or as a market research analyst, things feels like they move a lot faster because I'm working on multiple projects at the same time, and everything has a fairly short deadline. So I have to speak to clients now and then deliver a workshop like the next week, that sort of thing. So it's quite different. And at my current role at BlueTech, because the company and we work with technology providers, corporate end users, as well as investors and academics. I get to engage and connect with so many different people. And it's nice that everyone share a common goal to improve water efficiency. So it's just lovely to like be able to have great discussions with like everyone in the supply chain or in the value chain related to water to be striving the same goal. It's very rewarding.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I feel like we can tell just from the panelists, we have, consulting engineers, software, academia, market research, and I feel like smart water really is a collaboration. So I feel like that's reflected here today. So that's amazing. And, in the same way that, for each of us, for our careers, it's a collaboration. None of us are working by ourselves, and we often have mentors. So, at the heart of what we're trying to do in this series is talk about mentorship. How do we help other rising smart water professionals, understand, what paths there are to get into smart water, and what advice do people that have been through it, what do they have? So, kind of want to start pivoting to those questions. So, we focused on mentorship. So, first question, which I'm going to start off with Pedro, and also I know this is especially relevant because I feel like you were just going through this job search. So I feel like your experience is really, really fresh here, but are there any things that really helped you get to where you are now in your career? And, what things helped, advice people gave you, and maybe what didn't?
Right. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things that helped. I have to say that moving to work abroad helped a lot. So although I paint this, I don't know if I'm painting a very nice picture of my career path. I finished my studies in 2012. Yeah, and we're now in 2022, so it's 10 years after I finished my degree, and I was not working for those 10 years. So there was some periods that I was looking for a job. So when I moved abroad, that circumstance finished because I never got out of a job after that. So the first thing that helped me on the way was actually getting a steadier life, both at work and outside of work. And I know this is too mainstream to say, but it's true. There's a mindset that changes when you go abroad. And if you go abroad to a different culture, that happens even more clearly. So when I went abroad, not only I got a steadier life, I widened my career perspectives as well. And I also had the opportunity to get involved in different environments. And in that regard, I have to say that joining RiSWP as an ambassador was a big help on my endeavor to find my current job. Not only because being part of the network is something that can be highlighted, which is, I have to be honest and say, it's different to look for a smart water job with a label and without a label of a smart water ambassador. That has to be said. But not only that, but and I'll make a public acknowledgement here to all the ambassadors and the leadership team. The environment that we have within our team and within our group of ambassadors and leaders is extremely motivating and extremely inspiring to start and keep doing things and keep pursuing our career goals and keep having the nice view of this not always easy career path, because it's not always easy, but being surrounded by people who are always positive, who are always trying to find new things to do, trying to find value in the human relationships that we all have, it really helps. To be honest with you, I can't remember anything that didn't help. Not because, oh yeah, all the bad things that happened, they help you building something. Not because of that. Just I cannot remember. I think I've been very lucky all the way through until now. So Yeah, that's it. Moving abroad and being in a team such as RiSWP has definitely helped me along the way.
Pedro, I love that, because I feel like people that are watching this right now might think that, oh, all these panelists, they had a very smooth path. They always knew they wanted to get into smart water, you know, and I feel like you see people's accomplishments, but not really how they got there. And so I love that. And also I feel like just expressing an interest in smart water, volunteering, getting involved, it shows kind of your vision of who you want to be, and people see that. So I think that's great. And, you know, Kim, I know you've talked before about, you know, when you're doing your PhD, when you're doing research, that, you know, that was often kind of a bumpy road, that experiments are hard, fundamental research is hard. And so, I mean, do you have any like similar sentiments to Pedro, or a different experience?
It's quite interesting to hear what Pedro just said. Actually, Pedro is the first RiSWP ambassador that I've spoken to or met. And in our first call, we were talking about like, oh, how we could pivot or how we could get into a different like career to work more closely into smart water. So I was so glad to hear Pedro about Pedro's like Baseform job when he got it. I was like, oh, great, yeah. And for me, I guess, my previous jobs were mostly focused on like experimental, like wet lab experiments using pipettes and like building a whole rig, that kind of like research R&D activities. So when I heard about BlueTech research from a friend, the company and what the company does, and I went on to read about it and then apply. And similarly, I guess with Swan, I heard about Swan from a colleague and then went to dig deeper. And then I knew that I didn't know too much about smart water. And the best thing is to get involved, and that is how I could find out more. So I guess in my case, being curious was very important. I felt that it was mostly because I was curious to find out more, curious to dig deeper to see whether there are opportunities, whether things that I could apply to kind of like be a starting point and set my foot in. And I think this is important for anyone who is hoping to explore different opportunities, because if you're working in a different job, like in a job, you'll be probably like always around similar like people. You might not know that opportunities outside of your current role. So I guess just be more open-minded and just read about it and then try applying. You never know what you'll get.
I love that, being open-minded, being curious, and just, you know, seeing what happens, where it takes you. You know, I think so. There's a lot that we can do to put ourselves in a good position to advance careers, being in a more satisfying career. You know, what I'd like to get to questions about, you know, who's helped you along that way. You know, have each of you had mentors? You know, what role did they play? You know, they don't necessarily have to be older. Maybe they were younger mentors. You know, we can learn from everyone. So Jade, I'm kind of interested in your thoughts and sort of what your experiences are with having a mentor.
Yeah, I think mentors are everything, really. I don't think I would be anywhere close to where I am in a job I like, doing interesting things without them. I mean, I think I could take up the whole episode, but a couple that really stand out to me. I think right at the beginning, I was already in grad school, doing like hydrology, hydraulics, but then not exactly knowing where I fit in, because there are so many options, like so many directions you can go. And I remember just going and speaking to a professor about it, what my interests are, you know, where I'm at. And he was like, you know, there's a conference, like a big one, WEFTech. And he was like, it was in Chicago. I was in Urbana-Champaign. It's about a 3-hour drive. And he's like, I'm going there this weekend and I know some people I can introduce you to. And he was like, why don't you come with me? So he literally drove me to the conference. And I was so not used to putting myself out there. And so I attended some of these talks that I found interesting. They ended up being like modeling type talks, and I just ended up being in a room with a lot of people who were already doing the stuff that I was interested in. And I was so bad at it. Like after one event, I was just standing there because I didn't know anybody. And someone was like, "Are you lost?" I'm like, "No." But then she came up and spoke to me. And she was like, "Hey, what are you interested in?" I started telling her. She took an interest in me. She was like, "Oh, let me talk to people." Someone else who knew my professor also came up and spoke to me. He was like, "Hey, I remember your professor spoke to me about you, but I kind of forgot about it. But then he saw me again. It reminded him like, oh yeah, she exists." And then he's like, "I know this company. They do really interesting work. You should apply to them." And I literally gave him my resume like on the spot, pretty much. And a week later, like the company called me. It was a great fit because they were doing kind of like niche. They were doing modeling, but like interesting modeling, open to like things like optimization. And that helped a lot. So like, yeah, forever indebted to that mentor. But then even more recently, I think the latest mentor was my brother. He's younger than me. He's a computer scientist. I'm a civil engineer. And I was trying to do data analysis. And my code was like terrible because you don't know, like it gets the job done, but I'm a civil engineer, not a data scientist. So, but even then, my brother is just helping me make it more efficient. And so that's my latest mentor. So they're everywhere.
That's amazing. I love that so much. That story, it's so clear, how direct the impact that person had on your life. And that's amazing. And Pedro, I know, we've talked before, and you've been a sports coach in the past. So I know you've been a mentor to others. Do you have any mentors that sort of come to mind that have shaped your career or your life?
Well, I wouldn't say that I have official mentors, but I have a lot of people who helped me along the way. But before I go to that question, I just want to say something about what Jade has just commented on, going alone on a conference and standing there in the middle of people that she didn't know. Sometimes all we need is a push. Look, not everyone is self-confident enough to go and do that alone. And sometimes all we need is a push to be there. And I felt a little bit like that on the last SWAN conference, the last conference online in 2021, where all the ambassadors started pulling all the others to join the networking tables. And although it's on a different scenario, on a different settlement, I also felt like that, like, okay, I'll join a networking table. So I joined the networking table, and I can't remember I think it was only 2 of us there to do networking with other way older and more experienced professionals. So this to say, yeah, all we need is a push, and then we're on our wings after that. Going back to your question about mentors, I was saying not officially, but a lot of people, I heard them a lot. I'm just looking over here on the attendees. I think one of them is attending. Hello, Isabel. So my first job in water sector was with FASEC, a Portuguese company, on design and build of wastewater treatment plants. And I was sitting in a room with 2 excellent engineers, Joana Stiliano and Isabel Teixeira, and they are the first ones that taught me a lot of stuff and most of what I know today about water and wastewater design. So I would say that they were the first mentors that I had, not only because of technical stuff, but also because we were sitting in the same room and we were speaking about life, and how to grow a career in this area, things like that. After that, I remember some episodes of decisions I had to take that I didn't take them alone. The first one, when I joined Glenagua, my first months were at an office-based role, and I felt that going to site work would help me to grow faster, not only faster, but more consistently. So I called one person that worked along with me. We're nowadays we are friends. We call each other not every week, but probably every 2 weeks. He actually is from Lisbon, and we will manage to get time to meet again after I left Ireland. But I remember a call that I had with him, like 45 minutes to an hour, speaking about what should I do? Should I grab the opportunity of going to do a different type of job, to go to site and do site work as a site engineer as well as a project engineer. So I took a decision, and that decision was very good, and I listened to them and they gave me good advice. So that was one mentorship thing or one mentorship episode that I had, not official as a mentor, but that I had advice from someone who was working with me. When I was doing my job as a project engineer on site, and I decided to enroll in this data analytics course, I also spoke with my project manager at that time, and we were discussing about possibilities of upskilling. So I wanted to upskill in one stuff. She was suggesting me to upskill in something else, but at the end, she supported my idea, and well, another great decision supported by her. Now, you see, all of them were older than me. I think when I had my job interviews for the position that I am at now, the person who interviewed me is exactly the same age as me, and I was already with RiSWP, and I was in the interview, and I was thinking, oh, she would be a nice mentor for me, just because it would be different to have a mentor which is the same age or even younger than always have an older mentor. We never talked about this, but it may happen in the future. She's off now on maternity leave, but when she comes back, I think we'll have an opportunity to do some mentee and mentor thing. Yeah, that's it. Look, not official mentors, but a lot of experiences and supported decisions by other people.
Yeah, that's great, Pedro. Yeah, I feel like mentors can come in many different shapes and sizes. I feel like this has been a great discussion about mentorship. So, I mean, Kim, would you like to sort of round it out and talk about any mentors you've had? Also, I noticed we also have a couple questions for you specifically, Kim, in the Q&A. So maybe you can mention that, and then I can follow up with some questions.
Yes, for me, I guess mentor means quite it carries a special meaning, because I have had many supervisors, because with PhD you work with different supervisors, different research projects. You work closely with the supervisors, but not everyone you can call them a mentor, I guess. A mentor kind of show personal care and personal concern on not just your work progress, but also the things that are outside of work, perhaps. And also I've worked in different countries. I've worked in the UK, worked in Hong Kong, and worked in Singapore. And I can say that like the mentorship style is very different. But I think sometimes it takes a bit of effort to be warmed up to, or get some, or get to develop a more in-depth relationship with a supervisor or with a mentor, I guess. But a person that I really looked up to is she was very sharp. She was bright, and everyone that she worked with respected her. she did well. Even though she worked in she was a professor in the UK. Well, I use past tense because she recently passed away. But she everyone who worked with her, like, just she works in the UK, but then she never like take the UK courtesy or politeness into her heart. Basically, she just has a no bullshit attitude to everything. She's just very sharp, very direct, everything. She's South African, so everything she asks, like, you better have a good reason why you didn't deliver or why you didn't consider this approach. So I guess that kind of changed me in a way that, like, when I worked with her, I realized how a good mentor can be in some ways, that she really impact everyone around her, even people who wasn't in her research group. Everyone was just like, oh, she looks so scary, she sounds so scary, how can you guys cope? I was like, oh, she's actually very great. Find opportunities to ask about your career choice. So actually, anyone in the department who wanted some career advice or how to prepare for an interview, she was actually the best person to go to, because if she felt that you did a good interview or interview prep, you definitely have nailed it, because no one I know is more critical than her. But then she was just bright. Whatever she criticized, there was a good reason. Because I've worked with some people, or not supervisor, but I've worked with people who just criticize for everything, like sometimes not really have a good basis or reasons, but then she was spot on any comments that she made. So yeah, that kind of, I always thought about her.
I love that. She sounds like truly an amazing person. It sounds like this lesson of, you don't have to be polite to be nice. You can be direct, and that's an amazing thing to have in a mentor, that you can sort of trust what they say. So to go to the Q&A, again, this is kind of a question about academia. So the question is, the main concern for many PhD graduates who want to detach themselves from the academic environment and pivot to the professional environment, that they might be overqualified for certain companies. And so, the audience member said, that seems like, Kim, you're an excellent example of someone who was able to make this pivot. Do you have, what are the key points, or do you have any advice for how you were able to pivot from academia to a more professional environment?
I guess, I don't know whether it's something encouraging or not, but I guess be prepared to take a pay cut if you need to, or be prepared to take a more junior role just because you are actually learning something that's completely different. You're not better off compared to people who have a more relevant background, I guess. But with a PhD degree, I think it helps me it trained me to do my own research, and it also trained me to learn and be more independent. And I think a lot of companies value that. So I guess in interview, you can kind of convince people that you can basically take up the role, that even though you don't have actual job experience, but convince them that you have the ability to learn and pick it up quickly. I think that would be the most important thing.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I think I have a very similar experience as well. I agree with everything you just said. So let's see, trying to figure out, we've got some Q&A coming in. Let's go with, there's one question from the audience that is for Pedro. So what would the top one first step, the best advice you have to advise a civil engineer who wants to pivot his or her career towards smart water?
The very first advice I would give to that civil engineer is, what exactly in smart water do you want to do? Try to understand what fields of smart water really do interest you. So there's there's two things about smart water. The first thing, and we've heard this a lot of times, even within RiSWP events, is every time we think we're growing a career in smart water, we think we will all be typing codes 8 hours a day, and that's simply not true. So there's something else that you can listen to on a lot of smart water events. Is there's a lot of focus on soft skills, and those skills come from natural need for other types of profiles, not only the technical ones. So there's a lot of things that you can do on smart water, and the first thing is to read and investigate what exactly do you want to do. From my personal experience, the first thing I did, or the trigger that made me think about moving into smart water, was I paid the membership for International Water Association, and I started receiving a magazine at home. And the very first magazine I got at home was a magazine fully dedicated to digital water. And in some interviews and some articles in that magazine, I could see very different fields of smart water that seemed like an opportunity. So there was this computational fluid modeling. I thought, okay, this might be interesting, but it doesn't really suit me. And then I saw, data analytics, and thought, okay, I think I have an analytical mindset, so this might be the thing for me. So first of all, read and decide what you want to do. And then after you decide what you want to do, start looking for people who are in the area. And nowadays, it's very easy to get in touch with people. Also, people are different. It's different to approach people on LinkedIn or on any other professional network than to go and meet them face to face. Just drop a message to people who you like or who you feel identified with, and start trying to follow people who post stuff that are of your field of interest, and you will, with time, start growing an idea of what exactly you want to do, if that's exactly what you want to do, and how best you can reach your goals.
That's great. I love that. So we've got a lot of questions coming in the Q&A and in the chat. Jade, I think I'll go to you for this next one. There's a question from Nina in the chat. Says, I feel like it can be hard to find a mentor when working at a small consulting company. My manager feels like a mentor for my knowledge building, but I don't know how to get support on career decisions like upward growth, pay, next job focus. So have any of the panelists had this issue in finding who to talk to? And she also says she doesn't have grad experience and friends are in a different field. So looking for some advice. Jade, do you have any for her?
Yeah, so I was 2 years ago, I was in the exact same position. I'm in a company with like 13 to 15 other engineers, and we're just based out of St. Louis. And so then I was definitely like, how do I reach out to other people? That's actually when I found Swan and RiSWP and kind of started getting more into it. And so the absolute best resource for getting a mentor is actually this mentorship series. So if you go back into season 1, like you have access to like all these different industry professionals. If you're in the US, there are a couple from the US, and you can just listen to them, give advice. But then if someone really speaks to you, you can message them on LinkedIn and they'll reply. Like I've actually messaged a couple of them that I found interesting just to be like, hey, great, really like listening to this one aspect. I mean, I haven't reached a point where I want to chat with them about, if I'm doing the right thing in my career. But I know if I get to that point, I can definitely reach out to these people. So listen to the old mentorship series episodes. They're super helpful. Join a community like RiSWP. You can talk to us anytime. All of us were looking for other people who shared similar interests, so we were inspired. And like Pedro mentioned before, I'm forever inspired being part of this to do something. And yeah, So yeah, definitely there are a lot of resources with RiSWP that you can take advantage of.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jade. Let's see, we've got another question for Kim. This one's from Leah, who asks, what is your feeling about smart water in the future, and how did you see it evolving so far?
I mean, we are still just sitting at the early market here for sure. And we can see startups, like there are loads of startups coming into the market, coming to play all the time. And it's still an early market because a lot of utilities are still thinking which technologies to adopt. So I think it's an exciting time, to be fair. It's kind of the best time to join the market, I would say. And the smart water market is, or the smart water network is not just about like digital twins, which a lot of us like work in or know about it, but it's also about like different kind of sensors and things. So there are loads of different areas that if you find interesting, you can explore further. And there are loads of resources on Swarm web page. And if you're a Swarm member, which is very good price for a young person, you can access to a lot of different resources that you can find out more about smart water. And definitely I would recommend this area to go into. And there are lots of jobs. And if you're subscribed or you're one of the group member in our LinkedIn page, you'll notice that there are quite a lot of jobs that from time to time members will share through LinkedIn.
Great. Yeah, that's a great reminder. And Sandy, have you put the link to the survey in the chat?
I'll put it in there right now. I think Rudy shared it before, but I'll put it in there again.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that was just a great reminder. And yeah, the Swan website, which has been rebranded, is beautiful. And so, yeah, Kim, like you were saying, there's so many resources out there, both within Swan and outside of Swan. We've got another question. We've got lots of questions. So here, I'm going to ask one. This one's from Godfrey, and I don't know who wants to take this one up, but it is, what is the future of the bottled water industry in relation to smart water? I don't know, does anyone have any feelings on this? I know bottled water is kind of a different beast. Not many of us have that much interaction with it. Does anyone have any feelings?
I guess depends on which area you're looking into, but bottled water in the process, you require a lot of different treatments like cleaning in place. You need a lot of sensor technologies to see how good the water quality is. And to purify the water, you usually have a membrane process, reverse osmosis, and all sort of things that now with smart water technologies, like all about sensors, good control, and to make sure that the quality is good and is safe for everyone to drink. So I guess there's definitely like relevant.
Great, thanks so much, Kim. So another question from the Q&A. This is great. I love it. We keep getting more and more questions. So this one's from Amen, who asks, one of the things that I've noticed is that most of you are working or living in advanced country, which have good knowledge and technology in terms of water, and especially smart water. But for me, who lives in a developed country that suffering to deliver basic needs to people, how can I apply smart water technology in my country, and in what things I can focus on to help my people?
So I can, I don't know myself. Like coming from India, I do follow a lot of water professionals in India that I really look up to. I follow them on Twitter, and there are a lot of interesting people doing some cool stuff. So while I can't answer that question directly, I know Billy and I have been talking about having a mentor come from Asia, India specifically, where, who is implementing smart water stuff in less developed countries that aren't using such advanced technology. So definitely watch out for an episode on that.
Yeah, perfect. And if Pedro or Kim, do you have any thoughts on that? I don't know if either of you have any experience in that area.
I think Pedro unmuted, but I can start actually. So I came from Hong Kong, and even though it's a very advanced city, I don't think smart water or utilities actually has adopted too much smart water technologies. I think in UK it's getting popular mostly because of government legislation. So in regards to Ahmed's question on how to use smart water to help less privileged countries, I guess. I can always think about sensors, etc. But also I think I heard actually in RiSWP that some people are working on software that notify each other the water quality of different regions. I think you probably you need a Wi-Fi, but apart from that, there's always things that we can do and improve on just to build the smart water network in whatever resources that we are given, I guess.
Great. And Pedro, did you want to add on?
No, I was just about to second Kim on that. I think that nowadays, if there's internet connection, even if it's bad, there's something that can be done, even if it's only for information purposes and just for informing people and let people know what can be done. But to be honest with you, I don't know the reality of what internet connection is in many developing countries. But as Kim was saying, smart water adoption is not a matter of developing or developed countries. It's a matter of people being able to accept the change and bringing it into their very well siloed and structured perspectives of how the water world works. It's not all about money.
Great, thanks, Pedro. So I think probably have time for maybe this one more question. So Amrita writes, how do you see the potential of entrepreneurship for aspiring young professionals in the smart sector, having a strong foundation of research experience and interest in industry sector as well? And so I think kind of pose this to Kim, but can kind of open up to anyone. Kim, do you want to start out?
So from an academic background, when I was doing my PhD, I realized a lot of research there, what we call it academic interest. So you can write a paper on it, but sometimes it might be hard to find a good applications, which is completely opposite in industry. I think everything is application focused and market driven. And then, so I guess for anyone who wants to start a business in the water sector, I guess it's important to find out what is really the unmet needs and what people are hoping to solve. And I think that is very important before you start building anything.
Great, thank you so much. So, I think we're right about near the end. So I think we can wrap up there. And Sandy, do you have the slides for the next session, so we can kind of give a brief teaser for next our April session? So, in addition to having sort of more rising smart water professionals, we do want to feature more experienced leaders in the field. And on April 26th, we're going to speak with Alan Tucker, who is an IT program manager for engineering in St. Louis in the United States. He's very active in SWAN, and it's really interesting. He has a background in sort of liberal arts, so I think he brings a really interesting perspective. So really excited to kind of wrap up this first episode.